lizard, spiders, maybe some sort of fish.
Birds, reptiles, and chinchilla. Hamster, snake, hedgehog.
Right, so let's move on to talk a bit more about exotics. So Dr. Moses, firstly, what are exotics? Because I did a little survey myself, went around asking people, what are exotics? And everyone came up with snakes, reptiles. They all feel that exotics are in this category. I also thought so too last time. So what are exotics?
So, strictly speaking, exotics, when we meant, depends who you ask, I suppose. If you talk to someone who is in the vet field, I think exotics usually would refer to things that are, or in a small animal practice, it would refer to things that are not dogs and cats. Certainly not your farm animals. So farm animals are farm animals, horses are horses, right? And then your zoo animals are zoo animals. But this blanket term, this umbrella term of exotics, I suppose will cover things like small mammals, so hamsters all the way until your rabbits, ferrets, chinchillas, and then of course your reptiles, your iguanas, your snakes, your any form of lizard, your turtles, your tortoises, your fish, your aquatic species as well, your axolotls, your frogs, and even your birds as well. So it's a very, very big, broad umbrella term lah. Yeah, so bit hard to define just like that, but if usually the easiest way to think about it is anything that's not a dog and cat. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Then that's clearer. So can you give an example of which exotics are legal and which are not legal in Singapore?
Okay, so based on the last time I looked at the list, reptile wise, I think we only have two that are approved in Singapore lah. So your rear slider, which I think everyone is quite familiar with, we also call it the terrapin. It's the one we find in most of the ponds in any of the gardens or like your reservoirs. They are not native to Singapore, so they shouldn't be there, but it's okay. The other one that we commonly, not so common anymore, would be the Malayan box turtle. Really not very commonly seen. Like your rear sizes are by far the most common turtle that comes in. Yeah, they are semi-aquatic turtles, so they don't spend all their life in water. They do need dry land lah. Yeah. Then amphibian wise, your legal frogs or legal amphibians you can keep are only two species of frog lah. So your white tree frog and your crab eating frog. Yeah. The rest, okay lah. The bullfrog is food lah. So that one you don't a bit different.
Oh, it's the tianji, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so a bit different that one. Don't know.
You mean the tianji we can keep it as a pet?
Technically, if you look at the list of approved pets, no lah.
No, hedgehog and sugar glider, they are so cute and they are harmless. Why can't our government approve this now? As a pet?
That's also a tough question.
Yeah.
So this one is have you met our? No.
I need to write into them.
I think, I suppose the basis of what we permit and what we don't, or at least what on the government side, what they permit and not, they usually have there is a process lah. It's not like you flip a coin, heads we allow, tails we don't lah. Usually we consider, I think risk to human health is very big, which is why things like, you think, oh yeah lah, people, some countries they're like, oh, tarantula, scorpions, it's like very harmless, like put in a tank, just stare at it, stares at you. But the risk to human health is high lah, What if it bites someone? It's not so people argue, oh yeah, they're very friendly, they're very nice. Yeah, but what if it bites someone,
Yeah.
Can we actually put our hand on our heart and say we've done all we can lah? We already struggle with things that are approved already, right? So you have dog bites, cat bites, birds also bite you, and that's already tough enough. Imagine something with venom, something that's a bit more dangerous lah, I think a lot of times it's a tough call. Of course we want to say, I think in terms of vet medicine, diversity is always very exciting, it's always very fun. But it also comes with its risks and challenges as well. I think in the UK, one of the big ones was whether we would see venomous snakes, because you can legally keep things like vipers, cobras and stuff, but you or with the proper license lah, that's UK. But whether you can get a vet to see it is another thing as well, because it's risk to the clinic as well. You bring something, I mean, say hedgehog, sugar glider, if you think about it, it might look quite harmless, but I think from maybe a more biosecurity point of view, if you bring something in that perhaps is not through legal means, right, then you have to do it through illegal means, right? There's no like, I've completed quarantine, I've done my health checks and I've imported this animal in. It is okay, back of a van, put in a sock kind of thing. They come here and then, they some of them are already ill. Some of them maybe don't look ill, but they carry other things that might make you ill. I think also don't underestimate things that look harmless may not necessarily. They bite. They all bite. And I think we also have reports of, there have been cases of like, so for example, hamsters, right? They are very cute, very harmless, but we also have people who have died from hamster bites. You get sepsis, you don't know what they have, And I think with mammals, the risk of rabies is always there lah. Singapore is rabies free, but as far as we know, within the legal population, when it's illegal, everything, if it's not legal, it's very hard to say lah. And I think the last thing you want to do is risk yourself and anybody else lah. Even if you say, reptiles don't really, I think reptiles account for a lot of zoonotic disease in, like, I think there was a report in the UK after, not UK, US, after, the Princess and the Frog movie. So everyone was like very inspired, right? Maybe you kiss the frog, you become a prince. So a lot of them ended up in the hospital for salmonella, and it's not even very, crazy out of this world zoonotic disease. It's just salmonella. You get it from contaminated chicken eggs, contaminated salad, and it poses its own risk lah. Yeah, so I think it's also part of responsible pet ownership lah. And a lot of times, if something's not legal, then the resources you have are also limited to know what to do for them. You don't exactly have the appropriate diets. Whereas in the UK, where it's legal, you have the appropriate diets, and even then people also mess it up. You get all sorts of funny things. People do, like, there are appropriate diets, but people just like, nah, it's cheaper to feed them whatever I think I want to feed them, and then you still run into all sorts of problems. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I'm sure. But if we talk about the legal aspect of it, right, what are the most common exotics that you see?
I think nowadays, birds, quite a lot of birds. Terrapins as well. Loads of rare sliders. And also rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters, the odd chinchilla here and there. Yeah. So I think in terms of the legal animals, that's where we're at lah.
What are some of the most common issues that you see with these exotics?
I think as a whole, usually, in fact, I think most people that deal with exotics will probably agree lah. A lot of the problems come from husbandry. Sometimes you keep a pet that you don't know enough about, and you think you feed them what you think is good for them, but it may not necessarily be good for them. So say, or you don't provide enough lah. So I think one of the very common ones are birds. I think it's been, don't want to say hardwired, but it's been popularized that birds love seed, and they do. They love seeds. People also love to eat, like, kueh ji, that kind of thing. But if all you eat in your life is kueh ji, you are going to have a lot of problems. And it's the same for birds. If all they eat is a seed mix, sunflower seeds, or if they have a seed mix, maybe you have some variety there. But birds will pick and choose what they want if you give them a choice. They're not going to swallow the whole bowl of seeds. They will pick, okay, I like this, I will eat this, and I'll keep eating this until I don't have a choice. Then I need to eat something else. And I think you love your pet. You want to give them what they like. But I think if you love your pet, you also need to give them what they need. And sometimes it's tough, And like, there are balanced bird diets out there. There are many different brands. And it's important to go for I think rule of thumb is if the diet provided has too much seed in it, it's probably not going to be balanced enough. Not because the diet itself is not balanced, but the bird will make it unbalanced themselves. They'll be like, oh, I like this, and I'll just keep eating this. And then you see, oh, the food bowl a bit low, I top up. And then you're now topping up the things they like to eat. Then they just eat that. And then they know, okay, if I ignore everything else, I will keep getting what I like. And then they will just eat what they like, and then they develop problems after that. I think likewise, like your small furries, your guinea pigs, your hamsters, your rabbits. Hamsters tend to, a lot of them tend to become overweight because they do like their mealworm treats, but they are treats. It's like eating potato chips for your main meals all the time, then you will get a lot of problems. You may not immediately die, but you will develop all sorts of funny, abnormal conditions. Same with rabbits and guinea pigs. A lot of people think, oh yeah, they're vegetarian, right? So we feed them fruits. There is a difference in physiology. There's a difference between a herbivore and what we call a frugivore. So the anatomy and all that is not. There's a difference between an animal that's meant to eat more fruit, and there's a difference between animal, and there is a difference in the digestive tract for animal that's meant to eat like largely hay and grasses. And rabbits and guinea pigs fall under the type of animals that need more hay. Chinchillas as well, they need more fiber in their diet because that's just how their guts work. If you imagine like a cow or a horse, right, they go around and they graze. Okay, horse better parallel. So horse, it goes around, eats its grass, horses also eat hay, for rabbits, for guinea pigs, and I think chinchillas, they need quite a substantial amount of hay. And the type of hay matters as well. It's not, it's like anything, like you want good quality. Shouldn't just be the cheapest thing you find, because it may not always be the best. But there is value for money and good quality, and you can find a balance, And sometimes the most expensive diet isn't the best. And I think knowing what you're looking for is probably the most important, So yeah.
And for exotic pet parents, when they want to bring their pets to the vet, do they have to go to a exotic specialist, or any GP would be able to see their pets?
That in itself is also a tough question to answer. I think at present we only have one board certified exotic specialist. That's down at Beecroft, I think. But in terms of, so I think it depends on the type of problem we have as well. I think as a GP, we're general practitioners, so we are, I suppose you can think of us as a bit frontline if you must, or if you have a GP that is willing to see your exotic pet. I think first thing is call the clinic that you want to go to and ask, do you see exotics? Will your vet see exotics? I think most places will, but there are some clinics that would prefer not to. Everyone has their based on their experience, and I think it's always stemming from a place where we want to do what is best. And if I can't do what is best, then I will rather you go somewhere else, So it depends. Depends on the GP and depends on the problem as well. If it is an emergency, I think your best bet is to go to the specialist. If it's, a more, in fact, I think most GPs will eventually tell you, would you like to see a specialist instead? And I think it depends on the pet owner as well. There are some problems that I suppose, there are simple problems and complicated problems, right? And I think I suppose the second point, like for any pet parent, right? Find a vet you trust, and ask them for their honest opinion. And I think most discerning vets will tell you, okay, this is really out of my hands, let's go, and I think you should go and consult the specialist. Or they say, okay, looks like it could be this problem, that problem. Or you can find a vet who is experienced with this species. So there are certain vets that, even though they are not, say, board certified, but they're very, very experienced with certain species of animals, certain exotic species as well, and they can give you better advice. Some are very good with birds, some are very good with rabbits, chinchillas, guinea pigs, hamsters. There are a few vet clinics around that are, I suppose, well known for that, and you can certainly reach out to them. Or you can also just call your regular vet and ask, I have this pet at home, would you recommend me to bring it in? It looks a bit sick. Should I come in, or where would you recommend me to go, lah? Yeah, and I think we wouldn't be too hard up on like, oh, you must absolutely come to me. If I can't see it, I can't see it. It's not fair to make you come down, have me stare at your pet and say I don't know what to do. So I think first and foremost, call your clinic, and also if you are looking to get an exotic, make sure you know all this information beforehand, lah. It shouldn't be okay, I have for example, I have a rabbit now. Oh, it stopped eating. What do I do? I think we should answer all these questions beforehand, knowing what's the need. I suppose it's the same as getting a dog or cat, lah. Same process. Are there any vets near you? If there's an emergency, where do you go? What do they need? At the very baseline. And I think getting them from a reputable place, be it a reputable breeder, pet shop, that kind of thing is important, lah. And it will help in the long run. Some pet shops are good. They will give you the correct information about diet, about where to go. Some also give you advice on who can you bring, or who's experienced in seeing this kind of pet as well. Yeah.
Do they also get vaccinations like dog and cats?
So depends on the species. So rabbits do, or there is a vaccine available for rabbits. It's for rabbit hemorrhagic disease. I don't stock it, but there are clinics that will administer it as well. In the UK, it's very common. In Singapore, I don't hear of it as much. We don't see people requesting it as much, lah. I think some people do, and then we just try and order it in if you need it. For birds, we don't tend to vaccinate. There are like even influenza vaccines available. Tends to be more for the commercial production side of things. Wildlife uses it, zoos as well. So once again, I think it goes back to like what do you need it for, lah? Yeah, and what kind of pet do you have? It's a bit different from your dogs and cats, where we have a very fixed guideline on these are the core vaccines you should be giving. I think it's a bit different for exotics because one, the variety, lah. Just because someone says they see exotics, I think it's important to clarify what. And most of the time they will be a bit more clear. We will see small mammals, or we will see birds. Some places that see small mammals may not see birds, and vice versa, lah.
Okay, so let's talk a bit more about your pocket pets, the small mammals. So what should be considered before getting a pocket pet?
Once again, same thing.
Must be legal.
Yes.
Must be legal, yes.
Yes, there are a lot of pocket pets. Like Dylan already listed a few.
I love things that is illegal.
Dylan.
Yeah, so it's on. If you're listening, please look for him.
You're gonna receive
I don't know how many calls you'll receive. If they ask me, I point them. But so for any of first thing is it a legal pet, lah? If you want to keep a sugar glider, no, just don't, lah. But I think first and foremost is knowing the pet that you want to keep. Have you done your homework, lor? Do you have what it takes? Do you have space for it? For rabbits, or in fact, for a lot of your so-called your pocket pets, they are prey animals. They do better in groups. Your guinea pig shouldn't be by itself. Unless you are going to spend every waking moment with it, then you can take the place of the other guinea pigs. If not, minimally, I think there was a big push a while back where some pet shops were even insistent they will not sell you rabbits or guinea pigs by themselves. You need to at least buy two. I mean, it's not a money grab, but it's actually for their welfare, lah. They do feel a bit more secure if they have a friend, they have a buddy, and it's just knowing your pet, lah. Even for your birds, your reptiles, I think in general, considering do you have space? Rabbits need space, versus a hamster, okay lah, you have a decent sized cage. Depends what size your hamster is as well. Do you have the time for it? Are you going to change its bedding regularly? What exactly do you want this? Do you want a pet that's more interactive or not? Do you have time to spend with the pet? I think time with the pet is very important, lah. Whether it be a cat, dog, do you have time for it, lah? Personally, I don't keep any pets right now because I don't feel it's fair for me. Even fish, they swim in the tank, but you also want to spend some time admiring them at the very least, right? So do you even have time for that lah? And I think if you have very young children as well, are they the best pet for them as well lah? Hamsters look like they are very kid friendly, but they are not. They like to bite when they're stressed. They like to bite when they're worried. Rabbits, if you don't handle them well, they get injured. They get, you can cause a lot of problems as well. Same with guinea pigs, but maybe they're a bit more robust, but they're a bit more skittish. So if you don't have time to spend with them, then they're not going to be so interactive. And if you say, oh, I want to get this because I think it's a good pet for my child, then probably not such a great idea if you're not ready to become the owner of that pet lah. Yeah, and if you don't know what you need, then it's a very steep learning curve. And I think a lot of things, as with anything lah, it's like buying a car, I suppose. Do you have enough? Do you have what you need to buy a car? Do you have a place to park your car? Do you have the money to pay for road tax, insurance, the monthly installments? Will you drive this car? Or is it going to sit and collect dust? Do you even have a driver's license? I think that's the first and foremost, right? And what kind of car are you getting a car based on the needs? And I think if you not to say animals are cars, but to translate that sort of thinking, am I ready? Do I have what it takes? Am I prepared enough? If you think about the driver's license, right? You are taking tests, you are knowing how to safely operate this car, how this car should be on the road. Same thing, you can kind of think about it as, maybe test yourself lah. What do I know about this animal? Say a hamster. Do I know what its natural behaviors are? Do I know what it eats? Or is it, I'm just going to think, okay, they look like they like fruits, so I'm just going to give them fruits. Or they like mealworms, so I'm just going to feed them mealworms. There is actually proper formulated hamster food. And yeah, like, do you know where to get all these as well lah? Yeah, it's like some people we do get situations where people just buy a hamster and then like, oh, it's in the little carrier. There's not enough space for a hamster lah. If people are already complaining the size of the new BTO is very small, right? Don't do that to your pet lah. Afford them a bit of luxury lah. Give them a bit more space to roam. If you don't like being in a very small cramped flat, not flat lah, but a very small cramped space, your pet is not going to enjoy that either lah. Yes, they feel safe in tight corners, but they also want to move around. You can't put them in a box that's as big as them and then expect them to be happy lah. Yeah.
So for like rabbits, is it advisable to let them free roam?
So
this podcast is proudly sponsored by Hill Science Diet. Did you know about 70% of your cat and dog's immune system is located in the GI tract? A well-balanced gut plays a vital role in a pet's overall health, influencing everything from digestion to immune function and behavior. Hill Science Diet Perfect Digestion is specially formulated to support healthy digestion with a breakthrough blend of Active Biome Plus technology to support each pet's unique microbiome for healthy digestion and overall well-being, giving your pets perfect poop in as little as 7 days. Available at pet shops, vet clinics, and online now.
As part of exercise, yeah. Depends on whether you can manage that as well lah. So, generally people will set up like a pen, a play area, or it is recommended that you have a little pen for them and then a little hutch for them to sleep in at night. Depends on where you are. The more space you have, the better lah. But if you want to think about the enclosed area, minimally you want 3 lengths of your rabbit, and maybe enough for it to stand completely without the tips of the ears touching the top if it's enclosed. So it is quite a lot of, there's a lot of planning lah. So if you don't have that kind of space, right, then your rabbit is like stuck in a cage just staring at you. And then you're like, why is my rabbit so angry all the time? I'm like, if I put you in a room that size, you don't let you go around, you'll also be angry all the time, right? So same principles there. Like, do I have enough to let it exercise? I think health is not just about food and like existing, right? It's also like now we talk about mental well-being and all that. Animals also have those needs as well lah. And exercise is important in maintaining general health, So they need space to exercise. If you can't afford the space to have them free roam all the time, then you need to set aside time for them to come out. It's like walking your dog kind of thing lah. You need to set aside playtime. walking around time. And then I think the other thing is also, is your house suitable for free roaming lah? So if you have people who are a bit older or like children who run very fast, then it's probably not the best idea lah, because chances are you will bring your rabbit to the vet very quickly and say, oh, he got kicked, and they will tell you, sorry, he has a broken back, there's not much we can do lah. So all these things are practical considerations as well lah. Or if you have a lot of furniture that can be eaten by a rabbit, or a lot of plants that are toxic to a rabbit, why make your life so difficult lah?
So we talk about pocket pets. Another big factor about them being prey animals is that they do get stressed quite easily as well. So how do owners identify that their pets are very stressed, and how do they prevent their pets from being so stressed?
So I think for most, not just the pocket pets, I think so your cats, your dogs also experience similar things lah. First and foremost is getting them very used to you, making them feel safe. So everything boils back down to what we call husbandry lah. Is your setup safe? Do they have a place to hide if they feel stressed? A lot of times the stress comes from, there's stress of handling already. Of course you have a pet, you want to interact with it, but in the first place, is your pet used to all these things lah? So say, for example, you have a hamster. It's the first day you've had your hamster. It's not advisable to pick it up, walk around and play with it and expect it to be okay lah. It will probably get quite upset. It will probably vocalize or bite you or pee and poo in your hand because it's stress. You might just collapse as well. That is quite common. We do see that as well. A lot worse when they are unwell. Generally you need to give them time lah. It's like getting to know somebody for the first time. You're not going to be all up in their face also, right? So it's like you meet them, it's like, oh hi, give them a bit of space. Then slowly we bridge that distance lah. You can use treats and all that, but not excessively as well. You still need to provide the right diet, but every interaction, can provide a treat. Let them see that, okay, at the very least they see you like a treat dispenser lah. It's like, if I see you, I smell this person, okay, means I get something good. Then okay, the next step is maybe they only get a treat if they come on your hand. Like they climb up on your hand willingly. Or if you pick them up, they get a treat. Then they say, okay, now this is the next criteria, I must be picked up, then I get this treat. Then it takes time and you need to repeat it lah. So which is why I think big question is, do I have time for this pet lah?
Okay. And let's go on to a bit about health issues for this kind of pets. What are the common health issues seen in pocket pets, and how can owners recognize early warning signs, and when to bring to the vet?
I think the last question is the easiest. If in doubt, you're worried, just bring.
Just bring.
And my argument is always, if paying the consult fee provides you a peace of mind, why not, right? There are very few things that money can buy. And if money can buy peace of mind, why not? But on a more serious note, it's always good practice that you go in and at least it's better to be told there's nothing to worry about than you wait 1 week later for the vet to tell you there's nothing else I can do. So catch things early lah. That's always a good advice. I think knowing when to recognize signs of stress and signs of disease are very similar lah. First thing is knowing what's normal for your pet. Some hamsters are just naturally, they don't want to run around a lot. Some are very excited. They're like, oh, maybe you kept them for a month or two and you've noticed, okay, naturally, like daily, he just comes out, sniffs around, eats a bit of thing, then go and sleep. Okay, that's normal for him. But suddenly, you don't see him come out at all. Okay, maybe you start to worry. Or you see pee, like blood in the litter, which is why like clearing your husbandry, like everything down to husbandry. So paying close attention to your pets. I mean, it doesn't mean you stare at them 24/7, but you interact with them. You see, okay, maybe they say, hey, how come today? At least daily you see them once or twice. You pick them up. You have a few. You're like, oh, how come got this lump? How come there's blood? How come there's today he looks very sian? Or usually he will bite me after 15 minutes. Today he doesn't care. Okay, maybe we watch. And then if it seems like tomorrow he's like even more sian, then okay, maybe it's time to go. Or you can just go at the first instance you think something is off. And I think the more experience you get as a owner of that species, the faster you pick these things up. We also have we have both ends. You have people who are very new, don't know what they're doing. People who are the smallest little bit of change they pick up, and immediately they're at the vets, and you're like, oh, good catch, you know. And sometimes it can be even things like, oh, he just eat a little less hay than normal. And actually, that's a sign of dental disease for some species. So pocket pets, it's very hard to tell you what are the specific signs. But usually changes to eating, drinking, peeing, pooing. Blood in the poo is always wrong. Diarrhea for all the pocket pets, definitely emergency. Wouldn't wait. Blood in the urine as well, I wouldn't wait. Not eating, definitely. I suppose one slightly interesting one is if you see your rabbits or your guinea pigs or your chinchillas like drinking more water than normal, that can be a sign of pain. Of course, it can be a sign of kidney disease as well, but you're usually drinking more water than normal. You realize, like, keep topping up the water bowl, or his water bottle needs to keep getting topped up. It could be painful. Yeah, very obvious visible signs is visible swellings of the face. For rabbits, guinea pigs, chinchillas, you get eye issues as well with dental issues. You know, sneezing. Yeah. Chinchillas a bit hard to tell. They sneeze when they're upset as well. So you need to know what's normal for the species you're keeping lah. Hamsters, difficult breathing. You notice they're breathing very hard, or their fur becomes very unkempt. So a lot of all these pocket pets, they're generally quite neat, or rather they keep themselves quite clean and neat. They groom themselves, they make sure okay. Maybe guinea pigs are the exception. They can get a bit messy and they tend to pee and poo everywhere. But generally their coat should be neat. It's like, when you're unwell, you wake up, your hair is a mess. The same principle there. Like if they look like, oh, why you so messy today? Maybe something is off already. Get them checked. Yeah, and I think the really emergency things would be things like difficulty breathing, open mouth breathing that's really not normal, or very, very lethargic. Definitely I wouldn't take the chance. Yeah. No pee, no poo, also emergencies. So these are the common denominators lah. Yeah.
So Dr. Moses, you did mention just now about breathing. What if I realize that my dog is having, or my pet is having, like difficulties in breathing? So I do understand from human side we do perform CPR, but I'm not sure pets, like pocket pets and birds, example birds. Is it possible for us to do CPR with them also? Yes,
I have had to do CPR on a few different exotic species as well. I think those who were in emergency will also attest to it, or anyone who sees exotics would probably have had to do CPR on exotic species at some point. How you do it does vary from species to species, but generally we do chest compressions for all the mammals. It's just whether you are using your palm, the proper CPR position, or like if it's a hamster, then you use your fingers, at the appropriate rate as well.
As a pet parent myself, okay, definitely it'll be beneficial for me if I know how to perform CPR for my dog. So where do I get all this information from?
Or should a pet parent perform CPR for their pets?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So if your pet has completely collapsed and is no longer breathing, you should start. The rule, as with any emergency, you start CPR as soon as indicated lah. Of course, if your pet is really looking weak, you should be on your way to the emergency, right? The moment it collapses in the clinic, at least. So because
halfway through you.
Yeah, because you can't really. If you're alone, you drive and you do CPR, it doesn't make sense also lah. So ideally, don't wait till that point. There are courses you can attend for CPR as well. I'm not entirely sure for pet parents if we have CPR courses just for pet parents. But at least on the veterinary professionals, we do have the Recover, this group lah, the Recover initiative. So they actually do basic life saving, advanced life saving for animals as well. Usually modeled after dogs and cats lah. But everything else we kind of adapt. But for pet parents, I suppose there might be. Yeah. But also make sure it's reputable lah. There are a lot of people that claim they can do a lot of things, but make sure they really can do what they say they can lah. But I wouldn't. In some sense, it should not fall on the pet parent to be doing CPR lah, because CPR is only one part of emergency management and stabilization. It's not the only part. This is very helpful. But if your pet is at that point, it's probably going to need a lot more than just that lah. Because when we do CPR, it's not just about the chest compressions. We also need to intubate. We also need to give oxygen. We need to find IV line, IV access. We do a lot of things concurrently. CPR may keep them alive for a short while, but it's to keep them alive so that we can attempt to do everything else at the same time lah. Yeah, it is very important. It is something that we should start as soon as indicated, but it's not something I would, expect the pet parents to be like start. It should not fall on you to start all these lah.
So the rule of thumb will be more like send to the vet immediate.
Don't reach that point.
Yes.
Yeah, don't even like if
don't even think about it. Just bring it to let the professional handle it.
Yeah. Because even if you can do the CPR at home, you can only probably the chest compressions unless for some reason I don't know. If you work in the vet clinic, then that's different lah. But yeah, if for most pet parents, I wouldn't imagine you would have the whole setup at home.
Because previously we did mention about self-medicate. So this CPR thing is very different from self-medicate. Yeah.
But I think it falls along the same lines of that lah. In some sense, like life is hard enough lah. You've got people that are trained and this is our responsibility, right? Let us do what we're here to support you for lah.
Let the vet handle it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's talk more about birds now. Move on to birds. So what should be considered before getting a bird?
Same. I think same. We'll reiterate what we say for pocket pets as well lah. And I think a bit more for birds. In terms of do you have the time for the bird? It also depends what kind of bird you're trying to get. Do you have space for it? Is your house set up for it as well? I think whether your home is set up for the bird is also important. Do you have space for them to, what kind of bird you want lah? If songbird versus parrots is a bit different. Parrots do need a lot more time and investment. They can get very bored because they're quite intelligent. They can get very bored and they start doing self-destructive things. As per any person, you're very bored, you start doing very funny things. We saw that a lot with COVID. People throwing things out the window, doing obsessively baking. Parrots, most of the time we see that with parrots, but other birds will also present with similar signs as well lah. They might get, if the cage is not big enough, they might start losing feathers, they might stop eating. Parrots will show you very quickly if your cage is not suitable for them.
They will let you know.
They will probably break it and escape, or they get themselves stuck. Then they need to lose fingers, lose toes and wings, or they try and squeeze out and then they get stuck, and then you come back to a bird that the head is out and then the body is inside, hopefully still attached lah. Where you live as well is important. So if you say you want, you stay in a place and you want to put your bird near the window, do you have other birds that may eat your bird? We've seen videos of the hornbills paying a visit to the budgies. They are not friends. They are hungry. So we've also had instances where people house their birds outdoors and hungry predators come by and they just do their thing lah. To them, this is you're offering me a snack, sure. So all these things do need to be considered lah. If you have other pets at home as well, is the bird you're keeping able to tolerate your other pets lah? We've had cases where the cat's very excited about the songbird at home and try to eat the songbird, or the dog keeps barking and the bird got a heart attack and then just died.
Oh dear.
And sometimes it's like the bird came first and then the dog came and then the bird cannot handle the dog as well. So I think a lot of same amount of thought lah. It's the same that would apply for pocket pets as well. But certainly, what are you trying to keep? Do you have space for it? Do you have time for it? Is the food easily available as well? And do you know where to get it? I think for birds also, do you have a proper place you can buy the food? What kind of bird you're feeding? What kind of supplements does it need? Do you have access to these things? Remember, it's not just about giving them seeds lah. And then birds also need enrichment, so you need to find ways to keep them occupied. Do you have people at home? Can you afford to play the radio while you're out? Will your neighbors complain? The bird you're trying to keep, does it require certain documentation as well? So certain birds, like some of your parrots, they need CITES permits as well. For local sale, there isn't I suppose that you do just need to prove that they are from a legal source as well. Birds are also one of the most smuggled species of animal in the world. A lot of species are approved, but how they come in may not be correct. And they also have the whole host of diseases as well. So I think, where are you buying from? Is it a reputable a place? Is it a reputable person? That kind of stuff. If I'm not wrong, most people don't have a license to sell birds. So usually a proper a reputable pet shop. Yeah.
So what are the common health issues seen in birds?
Similar. I think you're going to hear this a lot. Every exotic you ask me, I'm going to say similar to the last one. But nutritional deficiencies, quite a lot for birds as well. So not enough calcium, not enough vitamin A. These two are quite common. Not enough enrichment of the environment, so they're not occupied enough. So some go into very destructive behavior. Especially parrots, they will mutilate themselves, or they will do very strange things. You've seen those videos where the bird just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning. It's just very bored. It's bored of its mind. It's just doing very weird things. So a lot of these things do eventually boil down to the baseline, your basic husbandry. Is it correct diet? Is it correct environment? Is the cage big enough? Are there places for your pet to hide if it wants to hide? Are you spending enough time with them as well? And how are you interacting with them? And then I think same with a lot of the pocket pets as well. A lot of birds tend to live in flocks. So are you able to keep them in bigger groups? That might, at least you cannot entertain them. They can entertain each other. Are they weaned at the right age as well? All these little things do make up a big amount of do help prevent a lot of the common issues we see. Of course, ventilation at home, is a house very, is there good ventilation? If not, then you start to see a lot of respiratory disease. You start to see a lot of sneezing, coughing, and generalized sickness kind of thing. Is it too cold? Is it too hot also? Birds can be quite sensitive as well. Yeah. So a lot of things boil down to the baseline. Do you have the right environment for your pet as well? Is your house subjected to sudden loud noises? Maybe your neighbors, I don't know, some people they like to watch football, they will cheer very loudly suddenly, and it's not a regular thing. So your bird may not be used to this. You bring it home, they cheer very loudly, next thing you know, your bird got heart attack, that kind of thing. It does happen. Of course, it's not always so instant, but these are considerations as with any pet. Yeah.
So, how do pet parents identify signs of issues, and when should they bring to the vet? Or similar to
the advice is going to be the same. It's a lot of me repeating myself. But I think, it's important. I think baseline is, if you're worried, you're concerned, just bring. Birds do tend to, as with pocket pets, they do tend to hide a lot of their signs. Birds also can pretend to eat. They're very good. They pick up food. They look like they're eating, they're just playing with it, then they'll just drop it.
Oh, really? They pretend to eat?
Some can. We also see chickens as well, so not just parrots, there are chickens as well, right? So a lot of them, they're prey, right? So if they start to look weak, or they look like they're not eating, then your predators are watching. Then they are next on the menu. So some of them will just look like they're eating, they'll pack the food, look like they ate it, but actually you count the number of pellets, right? If you put 10, they look like they ate, you count it, still got 10. Yeah, so they look like they're eating. So all these things are important also. How do you notice how much they're eating? Are they drinking more water than normal? How their poo's the color of their poo is important, right? Blood in the poo. Is everything green, Is there diarrhea? Birds produce droppings. Yes, there's the liquid component, the urate, which is the white part, and the poo, the actual poo, which should have some shape. Just because it comes out with the urine doesn't mean it has no shape. Birds can get diarrhea too. That's not normal as well. Of course, you need to know what you're feeding your bird. If you feed your bird fruits that are very high in liquid, like say dragon fruit, papaya, for a prolonged period of time, higher water content means you are likely to get watery poo because it's just so much moisture, you know. Whereas if you're actually feeding your bird like your normal pellets, you know, and a bit of seed here and there, but it's producing diarrhea, then okay, maybe that's not normal anymore, you know. But you should always get it checked, you know. And then I think for birds also important is, you know, what color of the food you're feeding them as well. So if you feed them fruits that are, you know, reddish in color, so some people feed the purple dragon fruit, they will also get purple in their poo then that's not the time to panic first. Always take a step back and say, okay, what have I changed recently, you know, and then what have I fed it If I fed it like, you know, apple with the skin, red apple with the skin on, is the red I'm seeing blood, or is it actually just the apple skin that it cannot digest you know, stuff like that. I think birds in general, behavior is very big, especially suddenly becoming very quiet, very ruffled all the time, looking very sleepy. Your bird should not be falling asleep while playing with you. That's not normal. If you take it out and it's like, oh, very interactive, eat halfway and then fall asleep, that looks very cute but that's actually quite serious. If they're sleeping. If it's nighttime, they're sleeping, please don't wake them up like give them a chance you know. But if like daytime where they're usually very active, suddenly like, oh, they're dozing off, you know, they walk out, as they walk they look more and more tired, then they fall asleep. That's definitely concerning. Feather loss is always concerning for whatever reason, unless they are going through a molt. So knowing your bird's molting cycle is important as well. Some birds molt once a year, some twice a year, a lot of things change when they go into captivity. Yeah. So you need to know that. Pattern of feather loss as well. You know, do you see them removing feathers, or is it just dropping? You know, that plays a part. Birds get swollen tummies as well. They get, same with dogs and cats as well. They look bloated. They have ascites, you know, and that's also a sign of other issues as well. So all these little things, can they still fly? You know, weigh your birds regularly. If you notice they're losing weight, you know, usually weekly, if for otherwise healthy bird, that's fine. But if you notice it, how come week by week is like losing weight, then maybe I'll be a bit more concerned. But absolute numbers are not what we are worried about. Then if you're weighing things, weigh at the same time every day, you know, or every week, same time, maybe the same day, you know, just to keep things constant because your weight fluctuates. If you weigh at the start of the day, at the end of the day, your weight will be a bit different. That doesn't necessarily mean you are dying. It just means your weight has a natural variation. So you need to trend that before we start to panic. But certainly if you know something looks off, their behavior is weird, today they're not responding to you at all, you know, and nothing has changed otherwise, then maybe we want to be a bit more concerned, you know, especially diet changes. You've given him a new treat, a new kind of food, you maybe don't really know, you know, it could be a sign of something worse.
Okay, so let's move on to reptiles. So after a bit of Googling, I realized the only legal reptiles as pets are red ear slider and Malayan box turtle. So why is that so? So
I think mentioned previously, I think this decision is much older than me, but it's or whenever the list is reviewed, there's a process. It's not like one person sits there and it's like, should we allow this? Then they flip a coin, then hits, okay, no . They look, one is environmental impact. They also assess if we permit this animal, where are the sources coming from, any possible risk of disease introduction, what's the impact it will have, risk to people, you know, effect on local wildlife, effect on the local biodiversity as well. So a lot of thought goes into it as well. And then based on that, they decide, okay, this species can be permitted, this species, no. And then I suppose that's how we got to just red ear slider and Malayan box turtle. Yeah.
Okay, so what should pet parents consider before getting these reptiles?
I think for reptiles and birds, they live a long time. I think it depends what breed you're getting as well. So you need to know what animal, what species you're getting. Like your songbirds probably not as long as your parrots. Some parrots in captivity live to 100. So they're also known as like intergenerational pets. So you will probably, this will be a family heirloom at some point, you know. So we always, people
It'll
know
be
like
part of your will
yeah,
kind of thing.
pretty much you need to know who's going to take care of this. If you are like 50, 60 and you're like, maybe I should get a African grey parrot. Yeah, make sure someone's going to care for them because it might be there longer than you, especially if you take good care of it. Same with your rare siders and Himalayan box turtles. They can live quite a reasonable amount of time lah. It varies a lot, so don't want to like commit to like, oh, you will live for 30 years. They count 30 years, then sorry, maybe in 30 years I'm gone. You cannot scold me anymore. But you might be like, I planned for 30 years. He's not dead yet. Then how? Always know roughly how long your pet will live lah. Turtles definitely 30 years is easy lah. If all your conditions are okay. Sometimes even the conditions aren't good, they can also live a long time. They put up with a lot more than you think they would, but that doesn't mean they should lah. Yeah, but yeah, big consideration is, I suppose when you think about do I have time for this pet is literally do I have time? Yeah. How long is it gonna live, and am I going to be able to care for it beyond its beyond maybe my own lifespan lah. For the duration of the pet's lifespan, is there someone taking care of it? Yeah. I think what kind of species? Oh, okay lah. Rare cider and Himalayan box turtle is quite. We only have 2, right? So find one, go and read out more about it lah. They don't just eat fish. A lot of times people think, oh yeah, turtle eat meat, turtle eat. Then they just keep feeding fish. Actually, they are more like, at least for the rare ciders, they do need quite a lot of vegetable matter as well. So actually 50% of their diet needs to be vegetables. Then you also need to know what kind of vegetables to feed them, what's safe. Then they supplement with your pellets, calcium. Calcium is very, very important for reptiles. It's always a problem. Vitamin A is also another one that, at least for the aquatic turtles, we do see some of them being deficient in as well. Then you get things like swollen eyes and all that. For calcium, we see calcium deficiencies quite a lot as well. So people think, oh yeah, we're just feeding it pellets, should be complete. But unfortunately, sometimes that's not enough. So they also need UV light. I think maybe in Singapore it's a bit different. We get a lot of them are given time to bask in the sun, so it's a bit different. But when you come to your rainy seasons and all that, where you don't have so much sunlight, you do need to supplement with the UV light lah. And it's not just UVA, UVB. You need to make sure your bulb is correct at the right distance and all that kind of things. Then you supplement your diet with calcium. Usually they recommend just calcium powder alone. You dust like whatever you're feeding. So if you're feeding insects, you can dust the insects, or you can sprinkle onto your vegetables, that kind of thing as a daily supplement. There is a right amount. You can also over supplement, so you need to know how big your turtle is, how much calcium does it need lah. Yeah, then usually your pet shop should, if they are selling, they should know, and they should be giving you the correct advice as well. Always check in with them as well. If you're not sure, check with your vet. Yeah. But make sure your vet is someone comfortable seeing reptiles. Don't force the poor fella to see something he really has no idea of. Then yeah. But generally, all these things, do I have time, do I have space? The terrapins are very, I think also, am I ready to put up with the mess that they can cause? Be it pocket pets, birds, reptiles. Birds can be quite noisy. They can also get quite smelly. Reptiles as well. The water is a mess every time they feed. Are you willing to commit to changing the water, possibly even daily, or whenever it's dirty, that kind of thing? So all these things need to be considered lah. And they are semi-aquatic turtles, so it means they need water, and they also need dry land. Can you provide a space big enough lah? And they get big. You need to know roughly what's their full-grown length. They need to have enough space to at least turn around, walk around lah. Same principle lor. You don't want to put them in a box and then that's where they live for the rest of their life. It's not fair lah. Yeah.
So when do pet parents know when to bring to the vet? Similar to
So reptiles can be a bit tricky sometimes. They don't show it as they're even better at hiding than the rest of them lah. But for, I suppose, turtles, one way to tell is activity level. Definitely, are they active? Are they hungry? Do they want to eat? Are they happy to eat what they usually eat? If the weather drops, some of them do go off the food because it's cold lor. They're cold blood. struggle to say it now that I know more. Then I suppose they are cold-blooded in the sense that they get their heat from the surrounding environment. That also determines whether they are more active or less active, whether they digest things better or not. And sometimes the temperature is too low, they'll be like, okay, I don't feel like eating. And then that might be okay for a while, But then prolonged period of time like that is also quite worrying. So you also need to at least weigh them regularly, If you have a bathroom scale or kitchen scale, most of them will fit quite nicely on like a digital kitchen scale kind of thing. You can invert a cup and put them on top so that you cannot run off the scale, stuff like that. Just to monitor how they're doing, maybe a once a week, twice a week kind of thing. It's just good practice. And then how much they're eating. Are they even keen on eating? More visible things of visible signs of problems. Some of them get swellings on the face, the neck, The eyes start to swell as well. Those are quite common signs of problems for them. Some of them bubble. Like on land, in signs you can hear them breathe. Like sounds as if they have a flu. Then if they start to turn pink is a sign of septicemia that's quite urgent already. In fact, you should get medical attention immediately. And the other one, I suppose, for a test you can do at home. If you pick up your turtle and you squeeze it as if you were squeezing a rubber toy and your turtle feels like a rubber toy, it doesn't have enough calcium. Your turtle shell should not be able to be squished. Yeah, it should be nice. Your bones don't bend, right? Theirs shouldn't either. So the shell is part of their spine. And sometimes at the edges, if you press down a bit, a little bit, sometimes you can accept that. But generally, if your turtle is squishy at the highest point, that's not right. You shouldn't have a rubber turtle. Any reptile that is squishy is just not right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Dr. Moses. We have come to the end on our topics on exotics. It's been very, very fruitful. We've learned so much about all sorts of species. So yeah, thank you so much. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.